What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Stereotherapy. I'm your host, Lisa. Of course, Justine is my lovely co host here. And if you're new here, this is the show that showcases the importance of music and mental health. We invite guests on to share their own story of how music has made a positive impact in their lives and their own mental health journey. Before we get into our wonderful guests, which I'm really excited to share after being off for a week, let's take care of business. If you love the show, even just a little bit, or even like it a little bit, give us a follow and subscribe to our show. You never know what you may or may not miss. So go ahead and give us a follow. And if you really love the show, leave us a positive rating or review as well. It helps us know what we have to work on, what you love, what you don't like, all that good stuff. It really, really helps. We appreciate you guys. Today on the show, I was joined by vocalist Dave Paulson of Water Street. It was really exciting to get to have a band like Water Street and showcase them because it's a different band. And anytime we get the opportunity to do that and be that platform for a band like Water Street, I'm really excited because I think even if you hear maybe indie rock or folk and you're not really sure if that's your thing, after this conversation, go check out Water Street. They're so wonderful. And I think honestly, if I could pick like me as a seasonal listener, that summertime band while you're outside with a drink, that's Water Street. They're so good. Go check them out. We obviously dove into the early days of falling in love with music and how School of Rock played a role, which was really exciting to get to tap into that. We also dove into their latest release, Decaf Daydream, which has been on repeat. As soon as I heard that song, that was the song that said, I have to have this band on. We dove into so many things. And it was, again, one of those things where it just shows our podcast is all about conversations and not interviews. And I'm so proud of that and proud to have this episode out. All the links below to check out Water Street. Go give them a follow and check them out. And let's just get to it. Here's our conversation with Dave Paulson of Water Street. Really cool.
Yeah.
I was really excited to find your band because it's a different band we've had on. We've
Mhm.
had and we've had different, like I had like a psychedelic band on. I've had
Mhm.
a lot of pop punk. They just gravitate. But then hearing your music, I was like, this is a different type of music. And I always love to feature that. And I really enjoyed it because I said, great, maybe I can push this to other people that maybe are the pop punk genre that are
Right.
checking us out because that's what's so cool, and, I mean, your voice, obviously, is just so, so good, and it's not
Thank
just
you.
because 'cause you're sitting with me, but, and I guess for the people that are listening, because it is audio only, if you just wanna
Mhm.
introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So my name's Dave Paulson. I sing and write the music for our band Water Street. We're a six-piece kind of like pop acoustic kind of sound. We're definitely, I think, heavily influenced by like John Mayer, Fleetwood
Mhm.
Mac, but also some kind of like even some like soul pop groups like Lawrence. We really like too. But honestly, each member of the group has some different influence. It's really interesting. I've never played with a group that has every individual person having like some different influence that they draw from. Like I think I'm really the only like really acoustically rooted person in the group,
Mhm.
but it's neat. We all kind of meet in the middle somewhere.
Oh, that's so cool. Because I guess too that I think a lot of people say the more people and, the more hands in the box, it can be tricky with that,
Yeah.
but and again, I have no idea what that's like.
Mhm.
I don't play music. I tried to play guitar once, and it was, like, awful. I so anytime I find a band like yours that has multiple people there, I mean, and just it's just sounds so I don't wanna use the word just great because someone's gonna be like, "Oh, why are you just saying great?" But it's one of those things that it sounds I don't know the right word for it. Maybe it's so, like, natural, I would say, and I'm
Mm.
sure in the background there's things we don't know, right, that go on to make that.
Sure. Feel
But
like
you guys
effortless. Sure.
yeah, that you guys all just fit together so well, and yeah, anybody listening, go check out Water Street after this because it's I'm telling you, it's so, so great, and I would love to know for you, what are some of those first memories of falling in love with music? Whether it was a time, a place, an artist. For you, what made you realize this is a little bigger than, "Okay, I just like this song on the radio."
So when I was 10, I saw School of Rock
Mhm.
and I saw Jack Black being Jack Black, like classic mid 2000s Jack Black.
Yeah.
And I was hooked. Maybe it wasn't Jack. It was I up to that point. I was like, only adults play music, right? Like that's
Mhm.
that's like
Yeah.
grown-ups do that. And then that was my first experience of seeing, kids my age who were just jumping in and kind of winging it and doing it. And I was like, that's it. I want to do that. I was like 100% on board doing that, like in whatever capacity. So my parents bought me this little like starter electric guitar, and I started taking lessons in the basement of a church when
Hmm.
I was 10. And it really all kind of just happened from there. I never planned to be like in a band or playing music or anything like that. It all just kind of one thing led to another. First, it was really just kind of playing in my room, practicing like with the door shut, not letting people hear me play, or like
Yeah.
then I figured out how to sing, and then that led to starting some just playing some open mics, and then that led to first gigs, and then I tried writing, and then yeah, it really just eventually grew into a group of people who just enjoy performing, but also kind of having just a catalog of our own stuff. I feel like a lot of musicians I know are playing gigs, or like at our level are mostly playing primarily covers. They're not playing their own material, like who are out and regularly playing. And I think one thing I pride myself on and us on is that like ours is kind of more of a balance. I think we're maybe like 1/3 originals, 2/3 cover, like 50-50. So but no, yeah, I mean early on it really was like I didn't have like musical influences until I was like interested in music, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So yeah, School of Rock,
Oh.
that was it. And then I kind of got into like a lot of like John Mayer, like Continuum, and
Hmm.
mostly just stuff on the radio, but then yeah, some classic rock too, like The Police, REM,
Hmm.
a few, yeah, like just a few who are kind of like in that same sort of ballpark. The Beatles,
Yeah.
some of the greats.
Right. Oh my God. And
Yeah.
School of Rock, that's just so wild. Because I think too, I remember seeing that too and thinking, wow, like this is so cool that this can happen for kids. And then obviously I took some of the kids I nannied for. They were
hmm
at oh, was it School of Rock? I think the one in Jersey, is that what it's called? Or something else?
There's
Not
a
School.
there's a few. It
Maybe,
always confuses me because I've
right.
never walked into one, but there's like the movie, and then that kind of like led to, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, wait, I don't want to say that because someone's gonna be like, that's not what it's called. That's the movie. But I want to say, and we took them, and it was so cool that there's outlets like that. And I'd like to think, like, probably from the movie that inspired that because the little kids I watched, they were big into piano. But them hearing the guitar at School of Rock at the other practices, they were like,
hmm
oh, that's really cool. I want
Yeah,
to
I
do
want to go do
that.
that.
And I was like,
Sure.
well, you're gonna have to ask your mom because I don't know. I mean, if it's up to me, absolutely. Like my kids, I would love for them to be exposed to that, but it was
hmm
just so cool, like that thing. And I think if anyone's never seen this, listening to this, go see School of Rock, go watch it because yeah, Jack Black, I
It's a good
love
movie.
that movie, and I don't think anyone yet has brought that movie up. So that is really great to have
Yeah.
that on here because it's such an important movie, especially if you are into music and just oh man, now I want to go watch it later. I'm like, what are we gonna watch later? We're gonna watch School of Rock because it's just so
Yeah, I
good.
mean, he's like obviously he's really like like his shtick is being like a goofy character in all the
Yeah.
stuff he is, and on like recently more and a lot of more like I'd say like animated stuff. But yeah, no, that's like I think one of my first memories of him, like just where he was in a movie where he had like a connection to like kids who were at the time my age, and
Mm-hmm.
with something that was like creative. It wasn't just like a funny story or anything. It was about kids kind of finding their own form of self-expression through music. So it
Yeah.
definitely spoke to me. So,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
again, I love that that's on here because I've been like, this is such a good movie. Like, come on. Like, I know somebody has
You're trying
it.
to find the musician who is inspired by you. We're
Yes.
here.
Yes, we are here. We've got it. And obviously, talking a little bit before we started, you're obviously in the northern part of Jersey, which is
hmm
obviously I'm central. But for everyone that doesn't know, because a lot of people just think like Asbury Park, as at least when I moved here, like that's where
Yeah.
like all the Stone Pony, all these venues, this is where it is.
hmm
For you, kind of take us all to that music scene where you are, that maybe people that haven't been or haven't even thought of Northern Jersey.
Yeah. So I mean, Northern Jersey is kind of like an in between. Like where
Hmm.
I am, Northwest Jersey, it's like you're bordering PA. you're close enough to everything that it's not you know within like an hour you can be near like a better area like Montclair.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're near like Jersey City, obviously New York, but then you also have, you know, by you have Asbury, you have the Shore,
Yeah.
you have um, in Pennsylvania, you've got Stroudsburg, you've got Bethlehem, Allentown. Bethlehem, you have like the Steel Stacks, you have Music Fest, some
Mm-hmm.
huge, like I mean, really just tucked away in the Poconos there. You have a ton of really good artists. I would say right in Northwest Jersey, it's there's kind of like little places. It's not no one's really like when was the last time you went to a show out in Northwest Jersey? You know,
Oh, I
like oh,
mean,
I'm gonna see a huge, you know.
yeah, no, I think the last time, who did I see? I saw somebody in Montclair. Maybe it was
Hmm.
Alkaline Trio or somebody. I don't
Hmm.
know. But it was at, well, you're right. Not, I
Yeah,
can't even think of the last time other than that I've been there.
I would say it's I'm kind of out here just because I think the pace is a little bit slower. Like you have kind of
Mm-hmm.
more like breathing room in kind of just um your area you live in as opposed to like a Montclair or anything like that. But like the thing I try
Yeah.
and keep in mind too is that this is all relative to like somebody I've been in New Jersey my whole life. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
I went to a friend's wedding down in Virginia last year and it was like 3 hours is a short drive to them. But like
Yeah.
by New Jersey standards, that's like you're like going from one end of the state to the other, you
Yeah.
know? Like
Yeah.
so really when you look at it like just being in New Jersey in general, you have a lot that you can get to pretty easily. I would say where I live, there's not particularly a ton going on, but um it's a great space to do like a writing retreat to kind of everyone just lock in, practice all that stuff, which is what we do. So,
Oh, it's a, because I know here it's so, that's one of the things. And I moved here about 7 years ago. I moved here from
hmm.
Illinois. So for me,
Oh wow.
moving here, yeah, moving here was a
East Coaster. Yeah.
big culture shock because it's like it is go go go. And
Yeah.
even the other day we were on the road, I don't know if it's like 8 o'clock or whatever now with like the beach traffic. It's summertime. And
Yep.
I'm like, don't people just still, I know I've been here for a while, but don't they ever just slow down over here? It is
Nope.
crazy out here. And I'm like, it sounds like I need to go more north because it is one of those things out here. I like the area where I can go, okay, I can go 30 minutes to this show. I can still hop on a train, go to New York City, or even drive to Philadelphia. It's not
Mm,
a far, drive. You can make it happen. But it's something about this area in this part of Jersey that I'm like, I have
yeah,
a love hate with it because
sure.
it's,
Yeah, and you know, it's that's like a good point too, because like a lot of people I've talked to who aren't from New Jersey or who aren't in New Jersey, um, they don't know that there actually are some rural areas. There's nothing
mm-hmm.
like not anything like you know like Kentucky rural, like something like
Yeah.
like small like 20 population towns or anything like that. But New Jersey does have some of those like rural areas that are kind of along the like the Appalachian. You have some forests and stuff. So that's kind of more where I'm at. I'm on kind of like the outskirts of New Jersey, but still accessible enough to everything. So
And it kind
uh,
of speaks to your music a little bit
yeah.
because you can tell, like, when I was listening to that, you can kind of tell, like, not, I feel like there are some of the local acts that I've seen here or,
Hmm.
and that you kind of get it. There's a lot of punk influences. Not saying there's not in Northern Jersey, but just like
Yeah.
you describing it. And I was like, it kind of goes really hand in hand with the way
Yeah.
your music sounds for sure.
Sure. Yeah, there's definitely kind of these like Americana roots to it, which I think I've come to terms with. I think for a while I was like, oh man, like I don't want to be a one trick pony and just like always just
Mhm.
play acoustic guitar, just always like
Yeah.
let's throw a mandolin in, you know.
Yeah.
But I think there's a part of just our writing style or our kind of like MO that's going to be rooted in some type of like folk or kind of like older feeling style of writing, but I think what we're learning to do now is infuse that in the pop genre, like in a way, like you have like there's artists like Noah Kahan who are like becoming huge, and
Hmm.
now there's kind of a bit of a resurgence of some artists who like play live instruments or really like pride themselves on being kind of like a live band instead of just you know, like playing to tracks live, which I think is, as you know, for the past 4 or 5 years, especially, been what I would say most definitely solo, like a lot of people,
Hmm.
uh, a lot of people do, you know. So which we're also like we're playing to live,
Hmm.
everything is kind of live and acoustic with us when we play. We don't have any sort of backing track, anything like that. No kind of beats or anything. So,
Oh,
but yeah.
it sounds so calming. Like in some of the obviously I haven't seen you guys
Mhm.
play, but like looking on Instagram and trying to get a feel, I was like,
Sure.
this would be so nice to see, especially in a summer night, sitting there outside and just watching this happen. And again, like
Mhm.
not to take anything away from people that do play with tracks and things like
Sure.
that, but like real, just genuine music. Like to hear that and be
Yeah.
able to sit there and enjoy it. That's so refreshing to see in like a scene and just music now where it's like, oh, here's a TikTok of a 30-second
Sure.
this. Here's
Yeah,
this, you
yeah,
know.
for sure. Yeah, that's not to take anything away from people who like do. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair point to like who do use track. Like it's just kind of their style. A lot of times, like if you're like one person or you're like a rapper, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you kind of you need that back. It just doesn't hit if you don't have some of that there. I think for our style, it's just been a very like I think intentional choice that we're not going to use a drum. Like we're just like our like the style of song that we're typically writing just isn't really suited to that. So we're gonna do it live.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Yeah.
keep
There.
it like yeah,
Yeah. Oh, I love
yeah.
that. I mean, even talking about your music, obviously, when I had first heard of you guys and you guys had reached out,
Hmm.
Decaf Daydream is now out. It's been out
Yep.
for a bit. What's been the response to that for you guys so far?
So Decaf has been our first song that we've put out after announcing. So we signed with an indie label last
Hmm.
December in Philly, which was amazing opportunity. Free Dive Collective, they've been great.
Yeah.
Um, Decaf, I think, is really true to I think the it's like an evolved form of our typical kind of sound where there's some of that like there's definitely acoustic rooted.
Hmm.
It just kind of speaks of I think kind of like John Mayer influence, coffee house kind of vibe,
Hmm.
calming like you said. So
Yeah.
um, it's people it's been really good. It's been great. We've had a lot of like friends, a lot of new people from like the Philly area, from New York, from kind of all around New Jersey who are kind of starting to hear a little bit more about us. So it's been this the response has been really good. Really good. And it's been really fun to see that song evolve. It was a really simple iPhone recording when it started and
Hmm.
it's kind of turned into this like big product. I think the final track count was over 400 tracks on the recording
Yeah.
for Decaf. So it was big undertaking.
Yeah, and I
So
know too, like in doing a little bit of research on you too,
hmm
and learning that this one essentially was almost scrapped, maybe because you were
yes,
the simplicity of
yeah,
it. And
that was my fault.
yeah, and it's wild to think like, what if it was? And I mean, guess what did that kind of this experience of how the song is now evolved, is now
Hmm.
out, and it wasn't scrapped. What about that? Is like, has it taught you anything about your in the future of making music?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's very humbling. It's very
Yeah.
it's. I am very happy to be wrong.
Hmm. Yeah.
Is how I put it. It when we had it at first, I feel like I my concern with it was that the chorus, like just the kind of walk up chorus, the style of it is just so simple that it's just like my mentality is like, oh well, we're gonna announce we're like label and we're gonna put this song out
Yeah.
and we're gonna come out swinging, right? And we're gonna do that with like this really calming acoustic song. And I was like, that to me that didn't make sense, on paper. But then it's just like when we really built it out and when um we arranged it, we worked on it. I mean Tyler with Free Dive Collective, and then Alex, our keyboard player, Connor, our drummer. The group saw something in it and wanted to go with it, and I definitely I was like, then we're gonna do it. We're gonna it's gonna be, and I'm just really I'm happy with the outcome of it. I think it's definitely taught me that like as someone who kind of comes up with a lot of musical ideas, I tend to do this kind of auditing process internally first of like, well, this is no good because of XYZ. So like I don't show it to anybody. It's kind of taught
Hmm.
me to just you never know what idea or what thing when you're working with I think other creative people will spiral into or lead into the the next song or your next, you know. I think the Lumineers said that too. They said that
Hmm.
about their first like Ho Hey or that
Yeah.
yeah, that song they almost scratched same sort of deal.
Oh
And
gosh,
that was their breakthrough, you know.
yeah. Like that's
So,
wild to think about too, those
yeah.
little things. I mean, even me, I can relate to that in a like even me, we were editing this morning and Zoom likes to always
Hmm.
mess up at times. And I'm sitting there trying to edit the audio and I'm just like, there's so many times too where before I even put out the episode, I'm like, I don't know, it's not good, or it's not this, or we need to delay it a little bit. And I
Hmm.
always second guess myself. And there was an episode we did about the band Bayside. And that was one of
Okay.
those things that because we did that, somehow they saw it. I don't know how, and the
Hmm.
algorithms shared it. And because they shared it, we had somebody else reach out to us that they're like,
Sure.
oh my gosh, I've worked with
It's like a
Bayside. I have
domino
this band.
effect.
And
Yeah.
it was one of those things. I was like, had I not, because I was like, oh, it doesn't sound the greatest, or I'm not as confident in it for whatever reason it was like,
Right.
oh, who knows? Like, and again, it's those little moments. Well, I'm glad, for example, like this song is out because
Yeah.
I
Me too.
really love it. And I definitely hear that little bit of John Mayer-esque
Yeah.
in it, which I love. I think he's so talented. Even if people aren't a fan of him personally or whatever
Sure.
reason, you have to give that
Yeah,
man
yeah.
kudos. You have to give him. I used to be one of those people where I was like, oh man, some of the stuff he says sometimes, but his music is just so good. I have to
Yeah.
like it because if not, if I say I love music and I'm digging on John Mayer, then who am I?
Right.
Because musically, he is so wonderful.
Yeah. No, for sure. I feel like a lot of people only know him from his earlier stuff, like the pop
Yes.
stuff, and don't know like him live. He is an unbelievable guitar player.
Hmm.
He's unreal. He when he plays like chords, he uses like his thumb. His thumb will reach over the neck onto like it's just it works in a way that I just can't understand. I just can't my brain can't comprehend as a guitar player. He's unreal.
Yeah.
And yeah, his writing is really clever, really clean. Um but yeah, just really catchy too.
Mm.
So,
Yeah. Oh, and even like whether it is second guessing, or and now you guys are on Free Diet Collective, what
mhm.
has been the biggest struggle for your band so far? Because I know you guys have been around in different
Yeah.
forms for a while now.
Yeah, well, so you know what's crazy is so Water Street has existed since 2011.
Hmm.
It's like what I tell most people is that like most people have played and most musicians have played in several different bands over the years. I played in one band that's just happened to have like seven generations of it,
Yeah.
you know, over the years, which is kind of like a different experience. But our current lineup, we've been together for like a little bit over a year now. So we're still I feel like a year in it feels simultaneously like we've been together for 5 years and like we're just still kind of getting to know the lay of things and you know so I'd say the biggest struggle is really is just is just learning how we all interact in like the writing setting. um I think I play the role of like the roadmap guy of like I have this idea and like here's kind of the start to finish of what I'm thinking and then how we get there is kind of up to each individual person playing their part. You know, but like now what's really I think cool is that more people than just me have ideas on the writing or the styles of songs that we should be making, which I think is great. It's definitely an adjustment because I'm used to just being like I have these ideas and you know like what should we pick and what should we do
Hmm.
and nobody really has previously kind of been like I want to write or I want to do this and now there's just this kind of sudden interest in doing that. But I mean like what do I have to complain about if that's
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
if there's an interest there. So it's really I think it's finding that balance between the style of song that us like the six of us want to make that the collective also feels like is a good balance, you know. They've been great like in terms of just working with us and the songs that we pick. It's very it feels like a very mutual process. So um but yeah, just like that setting of like there's more cook. You said that earlier.
Yeah.
It's kind of like there's more cooks in the kitchen. So you just kind
Yeah.
of like it's learning when to be like, okay, I'm gonna work on this piece, or I'm gonna step in and do this, or make room for somebody else to kind of do their thing in the whole process, like
Yeah.
writing and the recording. So
Yeah, and I mean, I think in two, we're into now this digital era of TikTok. I feel like all these bands,
yeah,
every band I have on, I know they said that's that's such a huge struggle because you have to now be like a social
Yep.
media content creator. And even we find ourselves with the podcast doing that, which I hate. It's the
Hmm.
number one thing I hate is the social media aspect.
You're right.
Yeah.
I take it back. I maybe that's the hardest part. Yeah, yeah. It's
Oh,
like you need to have a degree, and
yeah.
it's crazy. It takes so much more energy up than you want it to, but it's such a necessary part. Like everyone is trying to figure out the code,
Yeah.
figure out the solution to the equation, you know. Um, I think that's maybe also kind of the beauty of it is like, like it's if it was easy, everyone would do it. So,
Hmm.
um, I think because it's so difficult, you see people who are really passionate about it, just maybe
Yeah.
my optimistic spin on it, like you have to find ways to love it or love those pieces of it, um, in order to keep doing them because yeah, it's like TikTok has just blown up for bands as the way, people just stumble on a new music.
Yeah. And it's wild. And there's so many talented bands I've even found on TikTok, which is a great thing.
Hmm.
And that's why I'm like, okay, it's great it's here. But they'll tell me, they're like, okay, I worked so hard on this and it gets like 200 views.
Sure.
And then, but does it pull anyone to my music?
Yeah.
Mm, maybe not. And I'm like, I've seen that myself where
Right.
we did this silly TikTok and it got so many views, but did that pull anybody to my podcast? No, they
Yeah.
liked my content, but it was like, no, it's just that it's the battle. And I feel it a little bit where it's like, okay, it's the podcast, but if I was putting all that work as a musician and then going through
Right.
that, I wouldn't know what to do because
Sure.
being a musician is way, I mean, you work so hard on your music to put it out there and put yourself out there. And then to now, okay, well, social media says you're only, 200 views or this is what we think.
Right.
And it's like, but
Right.
even with that, and I guess that struggle, I guess, what are you most proud of so far in this project?
It feels like for the first time we're now making music that is from the whole group instead of just like, oh, I'm writing this and
Hmm.
I had this heartbreak or I was in love and it's like I went up
Yeah.
to my bassist and I was like, hey, relate to this song about heartbreak.
Yeah.
It's like my
Yeah.
very inner person, it's like I think
Right.
all of us feel I think strongly or passionate about the songs that we're putting out, which I think is great. It's I think the most important piece because you can, you know, if that's there, you can find the extra like the second wind for just the monotonous stuff like the social media or just the algorithms or the
Mhm.
like keeping up with all of it. Yeah, I think us all making music feeling like together now is really what I'm proud of too.
Oh. Oh, I love that.
So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's and and again, I admire that so much because again, like I see enough difficulties in my friends' bands with like three members. So I
Yeah,
cannot like that says a
sure.
lot and that's really cool. And I mean, obviously our podcast is also music and mental health and I would
Hmm.
love to know for you whether it was an artist or just playing music, how
Hmm.
has music made an impact in a positive way in
Yeah,
your mental health?
sure. Um, it's kind of been like my rock. I don't know,
Mhm.
for like any time I've needed to just fall back on something, whether it's like just being out and playing music, it's kind of become like my mouthpiece, just my form of just expression in my life. So it's been really like stabilizing. I feel like it's uh you know I I don't drink. I don't do drug. I
Yeah,
like nothing
same
nothing
here,
like
yeah.
that. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So it's like it's
Yeah.
music. Music has been really kind of that thing I've always fallen right back onto. So it really is a good constant. It's a good like North Star, I think, for a pretty long time in my life. So it's just kind of been like a guide. It's kind of it's I don't think it's playing music or like it hasn't been this thing that's been like, oh yeah, come back and do this. It's just kind of since I've always had that roadmap of like I want to make the next thing or I want to be playing this or I want to be here doing this with that, um, it's helped kind of give me direction and at least I feel like when you're in motion, when you're working towards something, for me at least, I think my mental health is overall better. I don't like feeling like there's not a plan.
Mhm.
But music has definitely, I think, given me that. It's given structure. So
Oh, yeah. I
yeah,
a lot of people have said that. And I'm with you. I can relate to that too, where I think without music, I don't know where I would be. Because again, I don't drink, I don't do any of that. And for
yeah,
me, it's always been my crutch where if I'm going through something, and whether it's an artist I love or just, you know what, in any moment, it's a calming thing. And I
yeah,
think seeing that I mean, I always knew there was that intersection of music and mental health, but then doing this podcast, I was like, wow, okay. Like I guess so many more people feel that same way and have had those same experiences of it being
yeah,
that crutch in life and good or bad. Because some people are like, yes, maybe in
sure,
a bad mental health rep, but also like in a good mental way too. Like
yeah.
it keeps you, whether someone has said it kept them busy or it just they knew they had that. And I mean, I guess have there been any specific artist in your time of whether it was a in a good way or a bad way, in your mental health that have kind of been there for you?
Um, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I think there's a band called Valley who I really like. They're like New York based. Um, they've been great, like them, Lawrence. I think there's
Mhm.
some who I look up to kind of have I think somewhat of a similar situation. So like Lawrence is one I look up to a lot because the uh they're like an eight-piece band, all live instruments.
Mhm.
Um, the the leads, it's their brother and sister. My cousin Julia is the other singer in Water Street, so there's like some similarity of like family there, I think. So, um, I think just their story, their music has been like really, for me, really stabilizing. It kind of keeps me at ease, and I think also I don't know I don't know if you feel this way too, but when I
Okay.
listen to music, I think I really like hone in lyrically a lot
Mhm.
too. I like there's like a really unique feeling that comes from somebody saying something in a way that is so specific to you that you just feel heard or understood differently than if you would if somebody just spoke that to you or said that
Mhm.
to you. It's it feels like it was written for you, and then there's this kind of unspoken loyalty between you and that artist because when you felt like you were kind of lost or you didn't know what to do, they they summarized it. They made you feel like human. So I think moments like that are really cool. There's some songs where I feel like I've written that and tried to replicate that. I think like Decaf is more so just kind of um a feel good summer song that's actually kind of about a little bit there's more complexity to it, but um yeah, I mean, do you feel like you've ever had like moments with lyrics
Oh.
or anything like that where it was like you wrote that for me?
Oh my
Like
gosh.
you're
Oh,
like millions of listeners, but you
I
wrote that just for
oh my
me.
gosh. And people are probably going to say, oh gosh, you're bringing him up again. But one of my favorite artists of all time is Anthony Green, whether it
Hmm.
was Circus Survive or his solo, actually his solo stuff. Like his
Hmm.
solo stuff to me, I tell people all the time, if you're not big into Circus Survive, if you're not big into like his Seosan or even Ellis Dunes,
Hmm.
he does his solo stuff is one of those. And
Hmm.
that to me, it's like, especially his latest record, Boom Done, he put out. I was
Sure.
like, there were some songs where I was like, okay, he's my favorite artist of all time. And this record is out for everybody. But this song is like,
For me.
this is for me right now. I am in my car and this is
Yeah,
for me. And it's like he
sure.
knew. And even when I went to go see him play at Crossroads in
Hmm.
Garwood, I think that's
Garwood. Yep.
and I love that place. And it was so intimate. And it was just one of those things when he came out and was singing those, I just, again, I don't know, everyone around me, whatever. I had tears and I was just like, oh my, I was just so moved by it, where it was like, this is how I felt. This was for me, what I was going
Yeah.
through at this moment, even though I probably have no idea what it's really about, but it's for me and right
Yeah.
now, and it helped me. And I think so many people listening will probably resonate with what you said. When you were saying
Yeah.
that, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, someone's hitting it on the head. that that is what it's like.
Yeah.
And there's so many other artists I
I
can
feel like that's got to
think
be the role of like the songwriter, you
of.
know. I don't, it's that's the difference between I think people who like write really good music and then kind of like phone in the lyrics at the end, or like, you know, like I don't want to say phone in. There you could I think with a lot of musicians you could tell there's definitely a priority over like making the music good, and then the lyrics are kind of like, well, you know, you have this really cool lick, let's just throw some words over it, you know,
Hmm.
versus like really I think designing a song that feels and really embodies that whole point you're trying to get across, you know? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of for me, like, okay, so
Yeah.
someone who's done that for me, like Lizzie McAlpine.
Oh,
She's
see,
really,
I'm not
really great with
familiar.
that.
I gotta write
Yeah,
this down. I gotta
she's
like got some
yes,
homework to
yeah.
do here.
She is probably one of the greatest songwriters of like our generation. I
Hmm.
think of like people who, you know, one thing I always think about is like who from like the 2000 or 2010s are going to be people like we talk about in 20, 30
Yeah.
years. I think obviously like Taylor Swift,
Yeah.
Ed Sheeran, like they're at the top. That like they're people who are like you're going to talk about them decades from now.
Yeah.
But I feel like from just a even just a lyrical perspective, like Lizzie is so good. She's really, really good. And she does a lot of stuff with like silence, like taking away or like
Hmm.
speaking things very soft. And I think it just that really it's so effective, you
Yeah.
know? Like just
Yeah.
I think power doesn't have to come from like forcefulness is I or just like, you know, like a high note or a strong note. Like it can come from um, very little, and I think that she's kind of mastered that. So yeah, Ceilings is great. That's she just put out a new album. That song, her song Older, is really good too. Just like yeah, I think when I heard Older for the first time, it was like just kind of this um, epiphany for me of just like thinking about time and like the value of time and you know. But yeah, it was 20 minutes of silence. There's like
Yeah.
songs like that where you're just like processing it for 10 minutes after the song's over, you know?
Oh, I've
So,
got some homework after I wrote it
yeah,
down.
yeah,
But
yeah.
like I've
Yeah, she's
never
got
heard,
some, yeah.
and that sounds like right up my alley. I love musicians that do that. I'm trying to think of someone off the top of my head that I'm thinking of that I've seen live because I know there's someone where they'll do little whispers or there's little breaks in it
Hmm.
where it's just it's oh, it's gonna I can't believe I can't think of it. But I'll think of it and then
Hmm.
I'll have to let you know. But it's like that sounds what to me, which is so special about music. And when artists like that, like Lizzie, do.
Yeah.
And again, I can't wait to dive into her music now because I'm like, that is right up my alley of
Yeah,
that. And it just is finding things like that. And I even think, I mean, I know in a bigger scale too. Like, I mean, I know people will talk about Billie Eilish on her and what
sure.
she does.
Yeah, it's
Um,
kind of, I think, a similar-ish vibe there to Lizzie,
yeah.
to
Like when you
Billy.
said whispering, I'm like, oh, that's
Yeah,
kind of Billie Eilish does that. I know it's a love hate for her to say that sometimes because she's like, oh, people just think I whisper. But again, in her music, I can tell even in Billie Eilish, there's a reason for all that in
yeah.
there. And it's all calculated and it's all, she's another
That
one.
song from the Barbie movie, like
Yes.
imagine if she sang that and belted that whole song. Like she could
Yeah.
totally do that, but it's not embodying the song. It won't hit you the same way as if she was just like she sounds like she's about to like break down crying
Mm-hmm.
when she's singing that song, and that's I think what makes it so effective and so impactful because it like I mean the hook line is literally it's like what was I made for? It's like
Hmm.
this like existentialism. You know, it's like
Yeah.
thinking about your place in the world and like, you know, what you want to do with your life and I think that way it was performed was so much like more impactful. So yeah, so like I mean in terms of I think how we like it's just kind of I think now compared to 2011, you know, like
Yeah.
I think we think about that a little bit more in the songs we're trying to put out and the music we want to make just like not only like oh, it would be cool if we had an up-tempo song. It's like about what or like how do you
Yeah.
want to make someone feel like what's the like lasting impact or feeling you want to leave somebody with after a song, you know?
Oh. Oh, you just said so many things. Like, what am I gonna have? What am I gonna clip? How am I gonna make this work to just clip this like big chunk of
I tend to ramble too. I don't give
oh,
short answers.
oh my gosh. Oh, but I love that. It's always, and never to knock anybody else that's come on, but it's always when people do give the short answers, you're like, okay. And I respect that. Not everybody does. Maybe they just are thinking off
Right.
the top of their head and everything.
You're like, how does that make you feel?
Right. I don't want to be like that therapist on there, but it's like, I want to know because,
Sure.
like, if you just say, like, yes, this is really great. Well, why is it great to you?
Yeah.
Like let's, and again, it's oh, so no. I appreciate people that because
Sure.
I'm the same way. So it
Mhm.
works. But for you too in mental health and in the world of mental health awareness, where I know it's wild to think we're in 2024 and we still
Mhm.
have problems like accessibility, affordability, and
Sure.
just stigma, and men's mental health, everything.
Mhm.
Where would you like to see mental health awareness go, hopefully in this year?
Uh, I feel like should kind of just be like a given. I don't know
Mhm.
how or when, but I feel like at some point everybody should just talk to a therapist. I feel like that's
Yeah.
like I've done that. I
Mhm.
probably want to continue doing that in the near future for like a
Yeah.
plethora of reasons.
Yeah.
Um, but I think this might be kind of crazy or silly to say, but just kind of like you have driver's ed when you're in high school. I
Mhm.
mean, like it's some like
Yeah.
I feel, and I mean you have like guidance counselors in school and stuff, but I feel like it should just be kind of maybe commonplace. I think part of your growth, I think at some point should just be sitting down for an hour with a therapist,
Yeah.
like and because there's a lot I think especially even when it's not somebody in direct family too,
Mhm.
you can talk to somebody who's separate from that and you start to make observation, because it's like one thing if it's like it's coming from dad or coming from like
Yeah.
family or like a significant other, but like when you talk to somebody completely separate who doesn't have their own, I think, personal mode, like, you know, bias
Yeah.
to that. I think I think at some point everybody should just do it. There's a lot of eye-opening stuff that comes from that, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah, and even stuff I
yeah.
know in the past when I could, I'm just now getting back into seeing a therapist because I think it's
Hmm.
something we should all do. But for a
Sure.
while, admittedly, it was affordability was the number one
Yeah.
thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
cannot spend
Hmm.
200 plus for an appointment. Like, I
Yep.
cannot do that. I just can't. And I know there's so many people that have to balance that because just the world
Yeah.
today, like the cost of living is insane. I mean, we're in New Jersey, so we know that. Like
Yep.
everybody knows it
Oh
just
yeah.
is. It's 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 so
You
tough, and
You ever
it's
see those memes about New Jersey where it's like there's like a
mm,
plastic like the kid like dollhouse and it's like
yes,
in New
yeah.
Jersey rent's like
Oh,
1,200 plus utilities and it's like the
oh my
plastic
gosh.
dollhouse
I tell people all the time when I moved here from Illinois and everyone was like, "Why aren't you, guys buying a house yet or this and that?" I was like, "Guys,
because
it
it's New Jersey.
it is New Jersey." And even and yes, like I'm like anywhere you go, I'm like even houses when we were originally looking a while ago, it was like they're all through the roof for
Yeah,
again, like almost like that tiny house. And you're like, what do I do? And I think with the cost of living, people had to balance that in their mental health.
sure.
And we felt like a little bit like COVID time when
Mm-hmm.
that people were, oh, mental health, we need to prioritize it. But that's come and gone. And we're back to square one, I
Sure.
feel, where it's like under the radar. And I know obviously with, the election year and everything, we hear mental
Sure.
health, but I'm like, I just feel like it's much like the Black Square when
Sure.
Black Lives Matter was around and people were posting that just
Mm,
to post it. And then we forget about it. And it's like, we
right.
say mental health matters, but we're not doing anything about it.
Right.
Like
It's
we're
like it's
not
kind of
doing
taken more of a
anything.
backseat as time has gone on instead of kind of staying in the forefront of everything. Sure.
Yeah, it's so important to have that. And I think um I love that you said that we should just almost like a driver's ed where we just it's something we
Yeah.
do or like even when we're younger in school and it's just I think about health class. Like we didn't maybe we
Yeah.
skimmed over mental health, but it was
Hmm.
nothing like I mean, to this day, like so many people think ADHD is just, oh, it's a little boys, you're
Hmm.
rambunctious. When in
Sure.
actuality, it's so different. And I think
Yeah.
I would love, hopefully, one day we end the stigma of that and people just, I guess, also just treat people with respect too. You never know. Like, I know it sounds cliche, but you never know what someone's going through.
Yep.
And it's,
Yep.
oh, it's tough. And I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of those things that, I hope it would change, but I feel like we've been doing this podcast for a year and like everybody's saying similar things with either
Sure.
accessibility or affordability. But I guess we really haven't changed yet. So I'm hoping
Yeah.
I don't know what we can do, but I just hope that I think maybe more people talking about it or
Yeah.
whatever we can do, I guess.
I think that was kind of, it's funny you mentioned that because it feels like that was kind of the mantra of the album we put out a couple years ago too. So
Mhm.
we did that, like a lot of that was recorded through COVID times, like
Yeah.
guitar tracks in this room, all of that stuff. And it was like one of the last songs we recorded, but the first that we mixed, and is a song called People, and that was what the album was kind of named after. There's a line "People, that was all we tried to be" on the song, and that's why the album is called All We Tried to Be. And the I wrote the chorus kind of meaning for it to be kind of along those lines, like you said, like people don't, you never know what someone's going through, and it was
Yeah.
like the idea of, like, in a time where you have so much polarity. This was like 2020, early 2020, like the
Yeah.
height of like trying to see someone for the person they're aspiring to be instead of who they're being, maybe even to you in that moment. So like that's the words, the exact words are, all that we are is more than we see, not who we've been, who we tried to be. And that was like
Mhm.
my way of trying to say, like have grace in trying to see, the good in someone who maybe isn't being necessarily good to you.
Yeah.
Not because you think they deserve, like because that's like what I objectively view as like the right thing to do, you know?
Yeah. Oh wow. Like everyone again,
Yeah.
I think everyone should listen to that song because I listened to that song and that was one of mine when I was going through and
Mm.
just listening to your music. I was like, again, I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna link everything below for everybody because again, that's I think it's such even now such an important lesson in anything, in just life, because it just it's oh yeah no perfectly. Oh gosh, I'm loving this conversation. But like for you, other than, besides music, what do you do for your mental health? And so a lot of people say they exercise or they just get outside. I know that's for me. Anytime I'm, just getting that sunlight or whether it's
Hmm.
having music on. But for you, what do you turn to in your mental health?
Honestly, right now, probably not much, but I'm looking to change, to turn over a new leaf.
There we go.
Um, I'm definitely in like work mode right now.
Hmm.
I work full time, and then it's like the minute I leave work, it's like, okay, we're like recording this or we're playing
Yeah.
here. So, um, been like looking for that balance. I've been, doing some like more exercise, definitely some little things like that, like, lifting some weights or,
Yeah.
walking, things like that. I feel like, yeah, getting away from it. But I know, um, some of the other Water Street crew off the top of my head. I know like Alex, our keyboard player, he's very much in nature. Like he's in a kayak, he's in the middle of a lake somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
like, so. And I think that's part, going back to kind of like the area that some of us live in. We're kind of now spread all across North New Jersey. Some are close to the city. Connor is our drummer, in Pennsylvania. So, but we're all close enough to kind of like the woodsy part of New Jersey
Mm-hmm.
that you can be out kind of in nature. I think that contributes a lot to, I feel like, maybe like having balance, even if I'm not necessarily actively doing, I think, as much as I probably should to,
Mm-hmm.
help with the balance of, I think, maybe the mental health, living near trees, near running water, near just like
Yeah.
nature, near
Yeah.
near wild animals.
Oh my
I
gosh.
like it.
Oh, don't even on wild animals. That's me. I am so where we live, although it's a townhome, we're on the end unit and there's nothing but
Hmm.
trees. And I love it because I recently, during COVID and other
Hmm.
times when I was just really like mental health wise, just job wise, just everything. I saw a squirrel bench that you could
Yep.
buy and I put it out and I started feeding my little squirrels. And
Hmm.
now I feel like people are like, oh, you're like the little Snow White in New Jersey and like central New Jersey because they'll come up and they see me open a door and they run up. And every morning, and that's what almost got me out of bed
Hmm.
in like a bad mental breath or just
Right.
anything. And like outside was like, these squirrels are waiting for me. And there's
Yeah,
deer. I have squirrels, deer, and I have like it's just I'm big in the wildlife. And I truly
sure.
like it's that's what New Jersey, that's one of the pluses about New Jersey and
Yeah,
that aspect. And I just think that yeah, the wildlife is great for that.
yeah. Well, like a squirrel's not thinking about anything other than just being a squirrel,
Yeah. Oh
So it's
yeah.
like, for me, almost inspiring to just think about, just do your thing. Don't
Yeah.
overthink it. I think I tend to overthink, or I try to like want to have control over things, and
Hmm.
I like decaf is another great example of that, because like I it taught me how like to, I think, let go of control. Like we don't have, like
Hmm.
just like trusting that what other people see for something, or a vision, like, and just running with that is ultimately the right call, and it was, so there's there's a piece in release, in learning how to, I think, let go of stuff. So
Oh.
trying to find wisdom out of you enjoying squirrels, but
No, that's like that's so like again, that's another thing. I'm like, I'm gonna have to clip this because that's such a great way to look at it. And I guess for me, like looking at the squirrels, it's like, okay, I'm helping them feed them, but like just oh, you just said it so perfectly. It's like so great. I never even thought about that. And I think for two, I for you in 2024, what's next for Water Street? Like what's
yeah.
going on? Like oh, what can we look forward to?
Yeah, so we've been doing, honestly, since probably the end of last year,
Yeah.
we've been doing a lot of behind the scenes work of trying to get new stuff ready for this summer. So we have more, definitely there's more music coming. Really excited about Decaf. We also did we released a live session of that too, which the label helped, they recorded that with us. So we like released a song and then got to release a live version of that too. So there's like
Mhm.
multiple versions of that song out too. So there might be more of that in the future too with the new stuff. But yeah, we there's definitely there's more music coming. Decaf was song 2 of the year for us, and we've already released as many songs in the first half of this year than we did like all of last year. So there's
Yeah.
more music coming. We have our we're playing out in Philly, so we're getting to kind of like get out of our backyard, I think, too, which is good. I think um, that's kind of the next goal for Water Street, is to just, like, I think in our local area people know about us, or they'll come to,
Mhm.
but we're trying to reach out to a wider net of people.
Yeah.
Don't want to just be like the, oh wow, they we found them under a rock in the middle of like
Yeah.
Nowheresville, New Jersey, and they're pretty cool, but like no one knew about them. So we're trying to spread the word, trying to get out there more.
Yeah. Oh, that definitely. Because like I said, I mean, even being out here for a while, I hadn't even heard of you. So when I got
Hmm.
the email, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like again, the sound exists, especially nowadays where, like I said, I think that the sounds are there's certain sounds that are being pushed, whether it is social media or in
Hmm.
local scenes. So to hear something like this, I was like, this is really, really cool. And that's another reason why I was like, I have to have them on the podcast because
Awesome.
to have different sounds and bands and just that, hey, like let people know Northern New Jersey, there's
Yeah.
cool stuff going on there, like places, or I had a lot of people from Pittsburgh. I
Hmm.
laugh because I had one band from Pittsburgh and then I had but again, so many different. There was this band, Dream the Heavy, and I don't
Hmm.
even know what to categorize them other than like a rock band, a modern day, like just
Hmm.
they are all rock live. And their lead singer TK is like I like he reminded me of like a Freddie Mercury. And I'm like, I know
Hmm.
people were like gonna torch me on that and saying, how could you compare?
Sure.
Like watch, but it was so cool to see bands like that
Hmm.
that again aren't this strict, like certain style that's being pushed. And
Cookie cutter.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the
Sure.
cookie cutter that's out there. And so cool. And I guess for people too, like before I let you go, because I've enjoyed this so much, but I don't
Yeah.
want to take up too much time. But for
Yeah.
you,
No worries.
where can people find you? I know I'm gonna link everything, but in case they want to
Yeah.
listen instead of like, all right, let me go link, but I
Sure.
know obviously I've seen you're on Facebook, you're on
Hmm.
Instagram, you have your website, but where else can people find you?
Yeah, we're Facebook, Instagram,
Yeah.
website, Spotify, TikTok. So our website is waterstreetofficial.com, all one word, no caps, no spaces. Instagram is just Water Street Official, all one word, same thing. Um, TikTok as well too. So we're And then if you search Water Street on Spotify, you should see picture 6 people
Yeah.
pop up. It used to be like a
Hmm.
water wave logo, but that's
Yes.
kind of our thing. But yeah, we're on Spotify. Our most recent song was Decaf Daydream, but we also had songs Live in Mine come out. Our album All We Tried to Be. So those, if you see those when you search us, you'll find us there. So we're there.
Yes, and I always tell people you are there because I remember when I
Cool.
searched, originally was looking for the water wave, and I was like, okay, great, all right,
Mm.
this is perfect. I got the right place. So, but oh my gosh, Dave, this has been so great. It's been so
Yeah.
great to meet you and to have this
Yeah, Lisa,
on.
thank
And
you for doing this.
oh my
It's been
gosh,
wonderful. It's been nice. I feel like sometimes it's so like informal talking,
yeah,
like or like it's like it's or well, reverse that. It's so formal, the questions, it feels like a test, but it's
yes.
nice to just have like a conversation and just, chat about people who just enjoy music.
And all right, guys, that was my conversation with Dave. Again, sadly, Justine could not join me for this one. Don't worry, she will be back next week, but I can't thank Dave enough. He was so kind because when we were originally going to record this one, I had gotten sick. It was so great and patient, and I truly appreciate that. Again, it's the worst thing you can do to have to cancel, and Dave was so wonderful. Really glad to have this conversation on the podcast. I know so many of you will resonate with it, and I think it's going to be one of those ones that is going to be one of my favorites. So definitely go check out Water Street and give them a listen and let us know if you like it. And again, let them know. Go listen to Decaf Daydream. It's a great song and everything else they have to offer. As for Justine and I, we will be back next Tuesday with a wonderful guest. Justine is back with me. Don't you worry. We have so much more in the way and I can't wait to share it. But keep listening to good music and we will see you guys next Tuesday. All right. Bye, guys.